Every time we move around with our phone that has Google Maps on it, Google Maps knows where we are. That increases the command capital of Google. They have the power to make you and I, unwaged, without even realizing that we're working for them, produce part of their command capital.
Just imagine this. You're walking through your city with your phone in your pocket. You open Google Maps to find the quickest route, or maybe you don't even open it because the app is already tracking you. Every step you take, every street you pass, every stop you make adds to the power of Google. But here's the disturbing part. According to Yanis Varoufakis, this isn't just technology helping us navigate. This is work. Work that we don't get paid for. Work that generates immense value for corporations without us even realizing we're part of the process. This is the new invisible labor of the digital age. Unlike the factory workers of the past who at least knew they were laboring for a wage, we now labor in silence. Our clicks, our movements, our data constantly enriching these tech giants. And as Varoufakis warns, this is not just a small shift. It is the foundation of a completely new economic order, a system where power no longer comes from owning land or even factories, but from controlling data, algorithms, and the platforms we can't seem to live without. So when he says capitalism is on the way out, this is what he means. The rules have changed, the players have changed, and the battlefield has moved from the marketplace to the cloud. And if we don't realize it soon, democracy itself may not survive the transformation.
Pretty bleak days. I was very much looking forward to sharing with you my latest fixation. When I say latest, over the last 2 or 3 years, I have this fixation that we no longer live under something that can be defined properly as capitalism. Look, wherever we turn, we see capital. Capital making gains over labor, over society, over our democracies. And here I am.
Think about that for a second. For centuries, capitalism has been the dominant force shaping our world. It defeated feudalism, it reshaped nations, it gave rise to industrial revolutions, global trade, and entire empires. And yet, here comes Yanis Varoufakis, one of the most provocative thinkers of our time, telling us that capitalism itself is dying. At first, it sounds absurd. How can capitalism be over when every headline, every market crash, every election still seems to revolve around it? But Varoufakis isn't saying that power and wealth have disappeared. What he's saying is far more disturbing, that the system we call capitalism has been quietly replaced. The balance of power has shifted. It's no longer about who owns the factory or who holds the capital goods. Today, it's about who controls the algorithms, who owns the platforms, who has the ability not just to influence our choices, but to decide them before we even know they exist. This is what makes his warning so explosive, because if capitalism is truly on its way out, what replaces it is not something more democratic or more equal. It's something far more centralized, more opaque, and more dangerous. A system he calls Techno-feudalism, a digital empire where a handful of tech lords hold more power than entire governments. And if that's true, then the crisis we're facing is not just economic. It's political, it's existential. It strikes at the very core of democracy itself.
People who do not own capital goods, the only capital that they have to offer is their own human labor, to work for you. The second power, of course, is the power of the capitalist class, of those who own the majority of capital goods, to set the agenda. And to set the agenda in the various fora where big, important decisions are taken on behalf of everyone. In the past, under feudalism, it was the landowners that had the power to set the agenda. My hypothesis, which I want to share with you and to try to explain and to convince you about, is that we now have a new form of capital. When I say now, I mean the last 10, 15 years or so. A new form of capital, I shall be arguing, is emerging. And as it does, as it emerges, as it does so, it is forging a new ruling class, a spanking new ruling class, even a new mode of production.
In other words, capitalism was never just about money. It was about power. If you owned the machines, the land, the factories, you didn't just create wealth, you controlled the future of those who had nothing but their labor to sell. And for centuries, that bargain defined our lives. But Varoufakis argues that this bargain has been broken. The power to set the agenda is no longer in the hands of traditional capitalists. It's slipping into something new. Something even more concentrated, not factory owners, not bankers, but tech giants who don't just employ us. They monitor us, track us, and extract value from us in ways we barely notice.
While all this is taking place, has been taking place now for a good 15 years at least, capitalism itself as a socio-economic system that went through various transformations and metamorphoses. After the Second World War, it became a planned system with Bretton Woods, with huge constraints, very nice constraints on the bankers, on the financiers. Remember, we had capital controls for 20, 25 years. You couldn't move millions or trillions or billions between countries just by pressing a button. So then we had financialization and neoliberalism and globalization. And then we had the massive crisis, the nemesis that followed the hubris of financialization and globalization in 2008. All the banks went belly up in 2008. In April 2009, under Gordon Brown, who was then Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, there was a meeting of the G7, the G10, the G20 in London.
This is where Varoufakis drops the bomb. Capitalism, as we knew it, is being replaced. A new class is rising, the so-called cloud capitalists. They don't just own factories or banks. They own algorithms. And with those algorithms, they command not only what we buy, but even what we desire. Think about it. Every time you scroll, click, or move with your phone, you're not just a consumer. You're an unpaid worker generating value for this new elite. This isn't capitalism anymore. It's something darker, something far more controlled.
The second pillar, markets, they are on the way out, and I've already explained why. Because command capital has risen to such an extent that not only does it tell us what we want, but it also creates the platforms on which we can actually buy that which they tell us that we want. And remember, these are not markets, they're platforms. The moment you enter Amazon.com, you have exited capitalism.
And here's the terrifying part. Unlike old capitalism, this system doesn't even need to pay us. With every step you take, every route you search, every swipe on your phone, you're working. Not for wages, not even for recognition, but for free. Google, Amazon, Facebook, they don't just collect data, they transform it into power. And the more we use them, the stronger they become. We are building their empire with our lives, second by second, without even knowing it.
With central bank money, which creates new ways of telling people what to do. Because if you are Elon Musk, for instance, your capacity to make the world go round draws from the value of your shares, of the shares of Tesla, of SpaceX, and so on. And those values are not that much related to profit at all. They're related to the state money that central banks are printing, as well as to the command capital of companies that can, through, even when you buy a Tesla, it is command capital that directs the car. You know that when you buy a car like a Tesla, like a Volkswagen Fold or, a Jaguar, the company can just press a button and switch off your car or stop updating it. And that's it. Your car is kaput very, very soon after that. So capital may indeed be everywhere. And it's clearly on a rampage. It is on a triumphant march, flattening democracies, flattening social capital, flattening labor, creating an ever-burgeoning precariat, a vassal capitalist class.
This is a turning point. In 2008, the system collapsed, and instead of letting capitalism reset, governments printed trillions to save the banks. But that bailout came at a cost. Profits stopped driving the economy. From then on, money wasn't earned, it was injected. The rich were rescued, ordinary people faced austerity, and the rules of the game changed forever. It was no longer capitalism in the old sense. It was something artificial, sustained by central banks, and fueled by inequality.